The massive alien ship appeared on a quiet Tuesday morning. It simply materialized above New York, its dark metal hull blocking out the sun. Within hours, similar ships appeared over every major city on Earth. The world held its breath, watching and waiting. Admiral James Walker stood in the United Nations emergency chamber, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. After 40 years in the military, he had seen almost everything. Almost. But nothing quite like this. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, a young technician announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. They want to speak to Earth's leaders. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a tall, purple-skinned alien. Its 4 eyes blinked in sequence as it surveyed the room. Gold markings covered its formal uniform, suggesting high rank or nobility. "I am Lord Trell of the Galactic Empire," the alien announced in perfect English. "We control 300 species across 12,000 worlds. We are here to offer Earth the privilege of joining our magnificent empire." Admiral Walker noticed the choice of words. Not an invitation. An offer they couldn't refuse. "We welcome peaceful contact with the Galactic Empire," the UN Secretary-General began. "But Earth is a sovereign world. We would need to discuss terms of any potential alliance." Lord Trell's upper eyes narrowed. "Perhaps I was unclear. This is not a negotiation. This is a notification of your new status. The Empire does not ally. It rules." Walker stepped forward. "Lord Trell, with respect, you might want to reconsider your approach. Humanity has a long history of—" "Silence," Trell interrupted. "We have studied your primitive species. You have barely reached your moon. Your technology is centuries behind the Empire's lowest standards. Your military forces are laughably small compared to ours." Walker tried again. "That's not what I meant. You should know that humans have." "Your species has never faced a real war," Trell declared. "You fight among yourselves with primitive weapons. The Empire has pacified hundreds of worlds. We have never lost a conquest." The Admiral's face grew stern. "That's exactly my point. You've never fought humans before. We're trying to warn you. For your own good, you should run." Laughter erupted from the alien delegation. Even Lord Trell's professional demeanor cracked as he chuckled. "Run. From you. Your entire planet has fewer ships than a single Imperial battle group." "You're making a mistake," Walker said quietly. "Humans don't just fight wars. We master them. We adapt. We overcome. Every weapon you use against us, we'll learn to use better. Every tactic you try, we'll counter and improve." "Bold words from a primitive species," Trell sneered. "You have 24 hours to submit to Imperial rule. After that, we will demonstrate why the Empire has remained undefeated for 10,000 years." The transmission cut off. The chamber burst into hurried discussions and arguments. Walker remained silent, staring at the blank screen. The Secretary-General approached him. "Admiral, what are our chances?" Walker turned, a grim smile on his face. "They don't understand, sir. They've only fought species they specifically chose to conquer. Peaceful races. Primitive ones. They've never faced an enemy that spent most of its history perfecting the art of war. But their technology will become our technology," Walker interrupted. "Every ship we destroy, every weapon we capture, we'll learn from it. Humans are good at that. Very good." He walked to the window, looking up at the massive ship still hovering over the city. "They think they're starting a simple conquest. But they're about to learn why you should never corner a species that turned warfare into a science." As emergency sirens began blaring across the city, Walker pulled out his phone. "Get me the Joint Chiefs. Tell them to implement Protocol Dark Winter. And send a message to all commands. The enemy expects us to act like every other species they've conquered. Let's show them why humans are different." Above the Earth, the Imperial ships began moving into attack formation, their crews confident in another easy victory. They had no way of knowing they had just started a war unlike any the Empire had ever faced. They would learn soon enough. They really should have run when they had the chance. The Imperial fleet launched their attack exactly as planned. Their ships descended through Earth's atmosphere in perfect formation, just as they had done on hundreds of other worlds. Lord Trell watched from his command ship, expecting another routine victory. He was wrong. The first sign of trouble came when 3 Imperial cruisers vanished over the Pacific Ocean. Not destroyed. They simply disappeared. When rescue ships arrived, they found nothing but empty ocean and strange devices floating in the water. Impossible, Trell muttered, watching the rescue ships' reports. Their technology can't hide ships that size. But humans weren't hiding ships. They were hiding submarines. Deep beneath the waves, nuclear submarines had been waiting. Their primitive-looking missiles carried warheads enhanced with stolen Imperial technology. The Empire never expected an attack from below the ocean. Admiral Walker sat in the underground command center, watching red dots vanish from the tactical display. "Report," he ordered. "Operation Sea Ghost is working, sir," his officer replied. "The Empire doesn't understand water warfare. They've lost 8 ships in the last hour." Walker nodded. "And the ground teams?" "Even better. In cities across the world, Imperial ground forces were learning painful lessons about urban warfare. They had landed expecting to find cowering civilians. Instead, they found empty streets, booby traps, and enemies they couldn't see. An Imperial commander led his troops through New York City, their advanced sensors scanning for threats. But the sensors couldn't detect the simple tripwires between buildings or the concrete-penetrating charges buried days ago. "This sector is clear," the commander reported. "Moving to." The explosion caught them completely by surprise, not because it was powerful. It wasn't. But it sprayed the area with a strange powder that clogged their breathing filters and shorted out their equipment. As they struggled with their failing gear, human soldiers emerged from hidden positions. The battle lasted less than 3 minutes. Back on his command ship, Lord Trell received increasingly desperate reports. His forces had lost contact with entire battalions. Human resistance wasn't just stronger than expected, it was smarter. "My lord," his second-in-command reported, "the humans are learning." "Explain," Trell demanded. "They're adapting our technology. The weapons they're using, they're combinations of their primitive devices and our advanced systems. They're improving them, making them work in ways we never considered." Walker studied the captured Imperial weapons laid out on his desk. Human engineers had already figured out how to power them with Earth's electricity. Better yet, they had discovered ways to make them more effective. "Their weapons are designed for efficiency," one engineer explained. "But humans design for maximum damage. We've increased their weapon power by 300% by removing their safety systems." "How many have we modified?" Walker asked. "We're producing 100 units per hour. And sir, our soldiers are better at using them than the Empire's troops." Across the planet, Imperial forces were falling into carefully prepared traps. Their perfect formations made perfect targets. Their standard tactics were predictable, and their commanders couldn't understand why their superior technology wasn't winning the war. In orbit, Lord Trell was facing his first real crisis. "How many ships have we lost?" 40% of the fleet, my lord. The humans, they don't fight like any species we've encountered. They use their primitive technology in ways our sensors can't detect. They turn our own weapons against us. And he hesitated. "Speak." "They seem to enjoy it, my lord. Our soldiers report that human warriors smile in battle. They laugh while fighting our best troops. It's like they've been waiting for this." Walker received the day's victory reports with grim satisfaction. The Empire was learning expensive lessons about humanity, but he knew this was just the beginning. "Send word to all commands," he ordered. "Phase 1 is complete. Begin Phase 2. "Sir," his officer asked, "should we show them everything we can do?" Walker smiled. "Not yet. Let them keep underestimating us. The Empire needs to learn why starting a war with humans was their biggest mistake. Above Earth, Lord Trell watched another ship disappear from his tactical display. For the first time in his career, he felt something new. Fear. The Empire should have run when they had the chance. Lord Trell stood before the Imperial High Command's holographic projection, trying to explain the unexplainable. The humans aren't just fighting back, he said, his voice tight with tension. They're learning, evolving. In 3 weeks, they've advanced their technology by 50 years. The Imperial commander's 4 eyes narrowed. Impossible. No species can adapt that quickly. But the evidence was undeniable. On the main screen, footage showed human soldiers wearing modified Imperial armor. They had stripped away the fancy systems and kept only the essential protection, making it lighter and faster. Where Imperial soldiers moved with careful precision, humans sprinted and jumped, using the armor in ways its designers never imagined. Meanwhile, in a hidden facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Walker inspected the latest human innovations. Scientists and engineers worked day and night, taking apart Imperial technology and rebuilding it the human way. "Show me," Walker ordered. The chief engineer held up what looked like a normal Imperial energy rifle. "We reversed their safety protocols. Their weapons are designed not to overload. Ours." He fired at a test target. The blast didn't just punch through the Imperial armor. It vaporized it. "How many?" "We've modified 10,000 units. But that's not the best part." The engineer pointed to a row of Imperial communication devices. "We cracked their encryption. Every transmission, every command, every battle plan. We can hear it all." In orbit, an Imperial captain was learning why fighting humans was different. His ship detected a small human vessel approaching. Scans showed primitive weapons, minimal shields. "Pathetic," the captain muttered. "Destroy it." The human ship exploded, but instead of debris, it released thousands of tiny metal pieces. The captain barely had time to realize his mistake before the metal shards, each carrying a miniature explosive, sliced through his ship's hull. The Empire had never seen this kind of thinking before. Their weapons were elegant, efficient, clean. Human weapons were brutal, unexpected, and devastatingly effective. Lord Trell received the reports with growing dread. "They're not just copying our technology," he told his staff. "They're making it worse." "Worse?" his aide asked. "More lethal, more dangerous. They take our civilized weapons and turn them into something." He shuddered, something horrifying. In New Delhi, an Imperial ground force discovered just how horrifying. They were pursuing human soldiers through the city when their sensors detected an energy surge. "It's just a primitive electrical grid," the squad leader said. He was wrong. The humans had taken Imperial shield technology and reversed it. Instead of protecting an area, it now crushed everything inside it. The entire Imperial squad was compressed into atoms. Admiral Walker reviewed the battle footage. "How many more tricks have we developed?" His tactical officer smiled. "We've turned their medical scanners into targeting systems. Their communication beams can now fry their circuits, and we found a way to make their own shields reflect their energy weapons back at them." "Good." Walker studied the global battle map. "Have we let them think they're winning anywhere?" "Yes, sir. They still think they have control of East Asia. They don't know we've trapped their entire fleet there." In his command ship, Lord Trell was beginning to understand the true horror of what they'd started. His staff brought reports of human innovations, each worse than the last. They weren't just learning Imperial technology. They were transforming it into weapons of war that made hardened Imperial soldiers tremble. "My lord," his second-in-command reported, "we've lost contact with the East Asia fleet, and our ground forces report that humans are laughing during combat. They're enjoying this." Trell watched another battle recording. Human soldiers moved like predators, using Imperial technology in ways that made him sick. They didn't just fight. They hunted. "Send word to High Command," he ordered. The humans. They're not like the others. They don't fear war. They master it. In his underground command center, Walker prepared to launch the next phase. Send the message to all human forces, he ordered. Show them what we can really do. The Empire was about to learn that giving humans access to advanced technology was the worst mistake they could have made. They really should have run when they had the chance. Operation Ghost began at midnight GMT. Across Earth's orbit, Imperial ships detected nothing unusual on their scanners. Their crews went about their duties, confident in their technology's ability to spot any threat. They were wrong. The first sign that something was different came when the night shift commander on the Imperial flagship couldn't contact the engine room. Then the weapons control went dark. Then life support started acting strangely. Deep inside the massive ship, a team of human soldiers moved silently through the corridors. They wore suits stolen from Imperial maintenance workers, modified to hide their life signs. The Empire had never considered that someone would dare to infiltrate their ships. That was their biggest mistake yet. Admiral Walker watched from Earth as hundreds of small dots on his screen moved into position. "Status of Operation Ghost?" he asked. His officer smiled. "All teams are in place, sir. The Empire still hasn't detected them. They think their internal sensors are just having normal glitches." Begin Phase 2. Aboard the Imperial command ship, Lord Trell was awakened by blaring alarms. "Report," he shouted, rushing to the bridge. "My lord, we're losing contact with ships across the fleet," his officer reported, panic in his voice. "Systems are shutting down. We're detecting human energy signatures inside our vessels. Impossible. Our security has been compromised," a new voice said. Every screen on the bridge lit up, showing Admiral Walker's face. "You really should have studied human history, Lord Trell, specifically the art of naval warfare." In that moment, Trell understood. While the Empire had focused on grand space battles, humans had perfected the art of boarding enemy ships. They had spent centuries mastering the tactics of close-quarter combat at sea. And now they were using those skills in space. Throughout the Imperial fleet, carefully planned chaos erupted. Human teams seized engine rooms, disabled weapons, and took control of key systems. They didn't try to capture the ships. They just made them useless. "Sir," Trell's officer reported, "the humans, they're using our own communication systems against us. They're broadcasting on all frequencies." The broadcasts showed Imperial ships being taken apart from the inside, crews trapped in sections of their own vessels, weapons turning against their own ships. The humans had studied Imperial technology so well they could control it better than its makers. Walker's face appeared on every screen in the fleet. "This is just a demonstration," he announced. "We've infiltrated your entire command structure. We can shut down any ship we want. We can turn your weapons against you. And this," he smiled, "this is only the beginning." To prove his point, the Empire's most advanced battleship suddenly turned its guns on its own fleet. Its crew watched helplessly as human-modified targeting systems locked onto Imperial vessels. "You see," Walker continued, "humans don't just fight wars. We master them. Everything you use against us becomes our weapon. Every technology you reveal becomes our tool. And we're very good at using tools." Lord Trell watched in horror as his mighty fleet fell into chaos. Ships lost power. Weapons wouldn't fire. Communication systems only worked when the humans allowed them to. "Full retreat," he ordered. "Get us out of this system." But it wasn't that simple. The humans had learned enough about Imperial technology to scramble their jump drives. Ships trying to escape appeared hundreds of miles from their intended destinations, right where human forces waited for them. In his command center, Walker watched the Imperial fleet's desperate attempts to escape. "Send the final message," he ordered. Every Imperial screen displayed the same words. This was just the first lesson. Leave Earth now, or learn what humans can really do in a war. The Imperial fleet, for the first time in its history, ran away. Later that day, Walker met with Earth's leaders. "They'll be back," he said. "But next time, they'll be facing a humanity that knows all their weaknesses and has had time to prepare." "And if they bring a bigger fleet?" someone asked. Walker smiled. "Then they'll give us even more technology to use against them. The Empire still doesn't understand. The longer they fight us, the stronger we become." In deep space, the retreating Imperial ships carried a frightening message back to their capital. Humanity didn't just survive their attack. They had turned it into a learning experience. The Empire really should have run when they had the chance. The Imperial High Council chamber had never been so loud. Angry voices echoed off the golden walls as representatives from across the Empire demanded answers. "How could primitives defeat our best fleet?" one counselor shouted. "They didn't just defeat it," another added. "They humiliated it." Lord Trell stood in the center, his career crumbling around him. On the massive screens behind him, footage showed Imperial ships fleeing Earth's solar system. The Empire had never retreated before, ever. But that wasn't the worst part. "The other species are watching," the head counselor announced, silencing the room. "Our subjects have seen humans defeat us. They're asking questions, dangerous questions. On 1,000 worlds, enslaved species were sharing stories. If humans could fight back, why couldn't they?" Videos of Imperial ships running from Earth were being passed in secret. Hope was spreading like a virus through the Empire. Admiral Walker received the intelligence reports with satisfaction. "How many alien species have contacted us?" he asked. 15 so far, his intelligence officer replied. "They want to learn how we fight. Some are already trying our tactics against Imperial garrisons." Walker smiled. The Empire's worst nightmare was coming true. They hadn't just found an enemy they couldn't beat. They'd found one that could teach others how to resist. In Imperial space, a patrol fleet encountered something new. The simple farming world they were approaching had defenses. Stolen Imperial weapons mixed with local technology, just like humans used. Their demands for surrender were met with a familiar response. "Run." The patrol fled, and news spread through the Empire. The humans weren't keeping their knowledge to themselves. They were sharing it. The High Council appointed Admiral Voss to replace Lord Trell. "Fix this," they ordered. But Voss had studied the reports from Earth. He watched recordings of human battles, examined their strategies, and reached a frightening conclusion. "We can't," he told the Council. "The humans aren't just fighting us. They're teaching warfare to every species we ever conquered. And they're better teachers than we are rulers." His words proved prophetic. 3 major Imperial sectors reported growing rebellion. The subject species weren't just resisting. They were winning. They used human tactics, human strategies, and most importantly, human creativity. In his command center, Walker reviewed messages from across the galaxy. "How many species have we trained?" he asked. 23, his officer reported. "They're quick learners. The Empire never let them study warfare, so they're absorbing everything we teach them. Some are even improving our techniques." That was the Empire's final mistake. By attacking Earth, they had created something they never expected: a galactic military academy. Humans weren't just defeating Imperial forces, they were teaching others to do the same. Admiral Voss brought more disturbing news to the Council. "Our troops are refusing to fight," he reported. "They've seen what happened at Earth. They've watched humans turn our own ships against us. Some are saying—" He hesitated. "Saying what?" "That humans aren't just warriors. They're war itself given form. Our soldiers would rather resign than face them." The Empire faced something entirely new: fear. Their mighty fleets hesitated to engage even small human ships. Their ground forces retreated at the first sign of human tactics. The Empire's unbeatable military was becoming afraid of its own shadow. Walker received a surprising message that day. 3 Imperial worlds were requesting human protection. They wanted to leave the Empire and learn Earth's ways. The Empire made one fundamental mistake. Walker told his staff. They assumed that because they had better technology, they were superior. They never understood that warfare isn't about having the best weapons. It's about having the best warriors. In the High Council chamber, the Empire's leaders faced a horrible truth. By attacking Earth, they had awakened something they couldn't control. Humans weren't just defeating them. They were dismantling their entire empire, one lesson at a time. Send the message, the head counselor finally ordered. Tell Earth we're ready to talk. But everyone knew it was too late. The Empire hadn't just failed to conquer Earth. They had given humanity a galaxy full of eager students. They really should have run when they had the chance. The scene in Earth's largest conference room was unlike anything in human history. Representatives from 30 alien species sat around a massive table, their different shapes and colors creating a living rainbow. At the head of the table stood Admiral Walker, looking at what had become the galaxy's strangest military academy. "Welcome to Earth's first Galactic Defense Summit," he announced. "Today, we form something the Empire never expected. A military alliance of free worlds." The aliens watched with various expressions as Walker activated the main display. It showed Imperial ships retreating from yet another battle. This time, they were running from a combined fleet of 5 different species, all using human tactics. "You've learned well," Walker continued. "In 6 months, you've done what the Empire thought impossible. You've learned to fight back." A tall, green-skinned alien stood up. "The Empire ruled us for centuries," he said. "They kept us weak, divided. But humans taught us strength." The alliance was growing faster than anyone expected. Every defeated Imperial fleet meant more worlds asking for Earth's protection, more species wanting to learn the art of war, more students eager to turn the Empire's technology against them. In orbit, human instructors trained alien crews in the art of space combat. The Empire's perfect formations were replaced with Earth's chaos theory of warfare. Predictable tactics gave way to creative strategies. The students learned quickly. "They're naturals," a human instructor reported to Walker. "The Empire suppressed their fighting instincts for so long. Now that they're free to learn, they're becoming incredible warriors." The Empire was learning painful lessons about their former slaves. Species they had considered weak were now leading successful rebellions. Peaceful races had become dangerous fighters. And behind every victory were human teachers, sharing centuries of military knowledge. Admiral Voss watched another sector fall to the Alliance. "They work together," he told the Imperial Council. "Humans teach them to combine their unique abilities. A peaceful trading species now handles logistics. Former farmers have become experts at planetary defense. Even the smallest races have found their role in warfare." The council chamber was silent. They had ruled the galaxy through fear and superior technology. Now they faced an enemy that turned both against them. On Earth, Walker reviewed the latest battle reports. The Alliance forces were getting creative, combining human tactics with their own natural abilities. A species of former tunnel diggers had become experts at sabotage. Flying creatures performed impossible maneuvers in fighter ships. Every race brought something new to the art of war. "Show me the latest numbers," Walker ordered. His officer pulled up a galactic map. "The Alliance now controls 30% of Imperial space. Their former subjects are rising up everywhere. And the best part, they're teaching each other now. Some species have developed combat styles we never even thought of." That was humanity's greatest achievement. They hadn't just taught others to fight. They had taught them to think like warriors, to adapt, to innovate, to overcome. In deep space, an Imperial battle group discovered this the hard way. They faced a combined fleet of former subject species. The Empire expected an easy victory over these primitives. Instead, they watched in horror as their former slaves executed perfect human tactics, enhanced with their own unique abilities. The battle lasted less than an hour. Not a single Imperial ship escaped. Walker received the news with pride. "Send word to all Alliance forces," he ordered. "Begin the final phase." Across the galaxy, the message spread. The Alliance wasn't just fighting for freedom anymore. They were fighting to end the Empire's rule forever. Former slaves had become warriors, peaceful races had become strategists, and humanity had become their teachers. In the council chamber, the Empire's leaders faced their worst nightmare. They had spent thousands of years keeping their subjects weak and divided. Now those same subjects were united, trained by the greatest warriors in the galaxy. "We should have listened," Admiral Voss whispered. "When the humans warned us to run, we should have listened." But it was too late. The Alliance fleet was gathering. Former slaves were returning as conquerors, and humanity had taught them everything they knew about warfare. The Empire really should have run when they had the chance. The Imperial Palace had stood for 10,000 years. Its golden towers had seen the rise of an empire that ruled most of the galaxy. Now those same towers watched that empire surrender. Admiral Walker stood in the Grand Hall, surrounded by representatives from 50 freed species. Across from them, the Imperial Council sat in silence. The document between them was simple: complete surrender of the Empire to the Galactic Alliance. "You understand the terms?" Walker asked. The head counselor nodded slowly. "All conquered worlds are to be freed. Imperial military forces will stand down. And," he paused, the words bitter in his mouth, "Earth will oversee the galaxy's defense from now on." It was a complete victory, but Walker felt no joy in it. He had seen enough war to know that peace was the real prize. "Sign it," he said simply. As the council members pressed their seals to the document, screens across the galaxy showed the historic moment. On thousands of worlds, former slaves celebrated their freedom. Species that had lived in fear for generations finally stood tall. In orbit above the Imperial capital, the combined fleet of the Alliance displayed their strength. Ships of every size and design, crewed by dozens of different species, all trained in human warfare. They were the galaxy's new guardians. "Tell me," the head counselor asked Walker after the ceremony, "how did you do it? How did humans master warfare so completely?" Walker looked out at the city below. "We didn't master it," he said quietly. "We survived it. Humans spent thousands of years fighting each other. We learned every possible way to wage war because we had to face every possible kind of war." He turned back to the counselor. "Your empire never understood that. You conquered peaceful races and fought that made you strong. But humans, we forged ourselves in combat. Everything we know about war, we learned the hard way." In the following days, the galaxy began to change. Imperial garrisons stood down. Slave collars were removed. Former subject species began rebuilding their worlds, this time as equals. On Earth, Walker met with the Alliance leadership. Representatives from every freed species gathered to plan the future. "We create something new today," Walker announced. "The Galactic Defense Council. Every species will have a voice. Every world will contribute what they do best. And humanity," he smiled, "humanity will make sure no empire ever rises to threaten freedom again." The Alliance members had learned well. Former slaves became teachers themselves, sharing what they had learned from humans. The art of war spread through the galaxy, not as a tool of conquest, but as a shield for liberty. In the former Imperial capital, the last Imperial admiral watched his mighty fleets being dismantled. "We had everything," he muttered. "Technology, numbers, control. How did we lose it all?" A human officer nearby answered him. "You forgot the most important rule of warfare. Never start a fight with someone who has nothing left to lose. Earth was humanity's only home. When you threatened it, you forced us to use everything we knew about war." The galaxy settled into a new age. The Alliance grew stronger as more worlds joined willingly. Former enemies became allies. The peace was kept not through fear, but through readiness. In his final address to the Galactic Defense Council, Walker shared humanity's most important lesson. The Empire fell because they believed technology made them invincible. They never understood that war isn't won by weapons, It's won by warriors. Today, we stand together not because we love war, but because we understand it. And that understanding will keep the peace. He looked at the gathered representatives, remembering how far they had come. Let the galaxy remember this. Humanity didn't want this war. We warned the Empire to run. But since they forced us to fight, we made sure it was the last war they would ever start. As Walker finished speaking, a new message was being carved into the walls of the former Imperial Palace. It would serve as a warning to anyone who might dream of building a new empire. We warned them to run. They didn't listen. Neither will we if you try the same. The Empire really should have run when they had the chance. The end.